Iran moves T-72 tanks towards southern border amid reports of U.S. ground contingency plans. Iran's regular army moved 3 T-72 series main battle tanks south toward Abadan, positioning armor near the Iraqi and Kuwaiti borders. The limited convoy points to a localized defensive adjustment as Tehran weighs the risk of an expanded U.S. or Israeli campaign. The T-72M or T-72M1 tanks were recorded on heavy equipment transporters traveling along Route 39 on the Al-Waz-Abadan highway on August 1, according to open-source reporting. The vehicles are assessed to belong to the Artesh's 92nd Armored Division, a Khuzestan-based formation responsible for defending Iran's strategically sensitive southwest. 3 tanks would not constitute the force package required for a major cross-border armored operation. Their movement toward Abadan is more consistent with reinforcement, dispersal, readiness activity, or the repositioning of equipment away from potentially vulnerable garrisons. The destination places the tanks near the approaches to southern Iraq, Kuwait, and the northern Persian Gulf, an area containing major energy infrastructure, border crossings, and routes leading toward the Shatt al-Arab waterway. The 92nd Armored Division is responsible for a sector that is central to Iran's territorial defense. Khuzestan contains oil fields, refineries, pipelines, port facilities, and several routes connecting the country's interior with the Persian Gulf. Abadan is located near the Iraqi border, the Shatt al-Arab waterway, and maritime approaches leading toward Kuwait. The area also retains military relevance from the Iran-Iraq War, when Abadan, Khorramshahr, and Awaz were major objectives for Iraqi forces. Local sources in Awaz reported that the 3 vehicles were traveling on Route 39 toward Abadan. Images circulated on Telegram show the tanks loaded on heavy transporters rather than moving under their own power, reducing wear on engines, transmissions, and tracks. The transfer took place after renewed U.S. strikes in Khuzestan and as Washington suspended a broader air campaign to leave room for diplomatic discussions. Tehran, however, disputes claims of direct negotiations with the United States and says its forces remain on alert. The T-72 family forms the most standardized part of Iran's armored inventory. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies Military Balance 2025, Iran has at least 1,513 main battle tanks, including 480 T-72S vehicles. This total covers equipment operated by both the Artesh and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps ground forces. The ISS also notes that the technical availability of part of the inventory is uncertain, meaning the listed total should not be treated as the number of tanks immediately ready for combat. Iran acquired its T-72 fleet in several stages. During the Iran-Iraq War, Tehran reportedly received around 24 T-72S from Libya. After 1989, Iran signed an agreement with the Soviet Union for licensed production of 550 T-72S tanks. The program was later disrupted by the collapse of the USSR, with fewer than 350 vehicles believed to have been assembled. Iran subsequently purchased 104 Polish-built T-72M1S and another 37 from Belarus. The exact number of T-72M and T-72M1 tanks still available is not published separately. The T-72M1 is an export version derived from the Soviet T-72A, while the T-72S is associated with an export configuration of the T-72B family. Both use a 3-person crew and a carousel autoloader positioned beneath the turret. Their main armament is a 125mm smoothbore gun supplied with 22 ready rounds. A coaxial 7.62mm machine gun and a roof-mounted 12.7mm heavy machine gun generally complete the weapon fit. The T-72M1 weighs about 41 tons and is powered by a V466 diesel engine producing roughly 780 horsepower. It can reach around 60 km/h on roads and approximately 35 to 40 km/h across open terrain, depending on vehicle condition and local conditions. This level of mobility is suited to the relatively flat terrain of southern Khuzestan, although heat, dust, and aging drivetrains can reduce actual availability. Since August 2020, the Bani Hashim Armor Industrial Complex near Dorad has operated a production line for upgrading Iranian T-72M1 tanks. The configuration shown at the time featured a substantially modified turret, reinforced frontal protection, a new gunner's sight, a probable laser warning receiver, and a meteorological sensor. A 7.62 mm remote weapon station was also mounted at the rear of the turret. Several of these features appear to derive from the Carrier program unveiled in 2017, although the convoy imagery does not confirm whether the tanks sent toward Abadan had received this modernization. The movement comes during a confrontation marked by U.S. and Israeli strikes, Iranian retaliation, and several ceasefires that have remained fragile. Washington and its partners have repeatedly raised the prospect of new agreements, while military operations have resumed when negotiations or temporary arrangements have failed. Reports have also referred to U.S. contingency planning for a limited ground operation or a special forces mission to locate, secure, or destroy Iranian-enriched uranium. These scenarios have not been confirmed as approved operations, but they give Tehran a direct reason to reinforce border approaches and routes leading to strategic facilities. Iran therefore faces an uneven military position. Its ballistic missiles, attack drones, underground facilities, and dispersed production networks allow it to continue conducting long-range strikes even after sustained air attacks. At sea, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps can rely on fast attack craft, anti-ship missiles, mines, drones, and coastal launch sites to contest access to the Strait of Hormuz. The land dimension is less predictable. Recent analysis has suggested that a U.S. ground operation would be more likely to involve limited objectives, such as seizing Karg Island, occupying islands or ports around the Strait of Hormuz, or securing specific nuclear-related sites, rather than launching a large-scale invasion of the Iranian mainland. Such scenarios would still require Tehran to defend coastal infrastructure, border approaches, transport corridors, and possible landing areas. Iran's armored forces are aging and exposed to Western air power, but they retain a role in territorial defense alongside artillery, anti-tank missiles, drones, engineering units, and local formations. The movement of T-72 tanks toward Abadan is consistent with this requirement. It does not indicate preparations to intervene in Iraq or Kuwait, but reflects an effort to complicate a limited ground incursion at a time when Washington has not fully excluded operations on Iranian territory.